welcome. Tonight's CPRB meeting, our regular meeting, calling it to order, so let's see, we got quorum. Roll, please.
Present.
Mr. Wilson,
Present.
Mr. Diaz,
Yes,
Ms. Kendall,
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
thank you very much. The other Tony called up. He's in a very busy time of the year for him, so he can't come for this one. We have an agenda, and I know several of you have some suggestions, some changes. The first one is just to eliminate 3A because we've already approved it. As a reminder, not only because of Open Meetings Act, but because it just makes sense. If we put something on the agenda, let us make it a discussion item, not an action item. And that way we can prep, and at the next meeting afterwards, when it's properly on the agenda with lots of notification, we can make some decisions when there are decisions to be made. And sometimes in our discussions, they're not really votes, they are just agreements. So if that works out. So before I take an approval of the agenda motion, is there any changes to the agenda that people would like to make?
So I would move to add to the agenda two things. One, just add to discussion of the Taser case U19-579. That's the Urbana police report number, I believe it's assigned. That's the one that's in the our cloud file as well.
Okay.
I'd move to add that, and then also discussion item for discussing, section 19-22 of the ordinance, subsection C, specifically as to its removal.
Okay. So if it's okay with everybody, I see the Taser case as a discussion item under 5, so we'll just put it as D. And then the discussion of the change of ordinance, while it's been talked about before, but I want to put it in new business so that it then carries over as old business for the next one. So 6D for that one, okay? Anything else, Tony?
No, Ricardo, that's all for me.
Thanks. Katrina, any changes?
None.
Okay. And Colum, changes?
No changes.
No changes because you were already on with proposed change. Thank you. All right. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'd move to approve.
I second.
Thank you. Let's just take roll on it to make sure, because there's lots of changes here.
Mr. Allegretti,
Yes.
Mr. Diaz.
Yes.
Ms. Kendall,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. So there's a couple of additions and then a change of the minutes. We do have 2 minutes that are pending and in your hands. We've held them for a couple of times, and so can I, any comments on the minutes from the last 2 meetings? We're all in good shape then. So do I have a motion to approve, I think we can do both, minutes for June 23rd and July 28th.
Move to approve the 2 minutes from June 23rd and July 28th.
Thank you, Tony.
I second.
And Katrina seconds. So let's take a roll and on this motion.
Mr. Allegretti,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Diaz.
Yes.
Ms. Kendall.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. There's 4 of us, which out of 5 puts us, not only in quorum, but I know that I was talking to Tony, and he'll keep up with us. We've got a lot of work. Normally, our regular meetings are to move business, long range especially, and then we have hearings in which we do individual cases. Today, then, it's regular stuff that we have going on. But before we get into those, we have public participation, and so if we can have some comments, thank you. If you'll come over, and we know each other, but the camera may not know us in the same way, so please.
Hi, CPRB board members. First, I had a question. Sorry, I missed it a bit. Are we discussing the TASER review tonight?
It's on the agenda as a discussion. It will
Okay.
not be a presentation of the TASER. It was
Okay.
just catching up where we are with it.
Okay, so it is being discussed. Okay, I was just wondering why it was not on the agenda.
Yeah,
Because I think it does affect other people. Like like you told me it wasn't going to be discussed fully, and then I came, but I'm not sure whether other people are going to miss it because they think that it's not on the agenda.
yeah. And because of that, when we get to it, we'll just do a quick intro, but it won't be a discussion of the case itself. So.
Okay, and maybe it'd be good to tell the public why it was omitted, since it was very clear from last meeting that Tony Allegretti kind of said that we will discuss, it would
Thank
be on the agenda. So,
Yep.
like, did city staff drop the ball or what happened?
Yeah, thanks.
So the second thing I wanted to talk about is the revised Urbana Police Department use of force policy that was presented before City Council this Monday. So city leadership and UPD leadership claimed that there was broad public participation, but this is not true. Chief Serafin even claimed that the 3 listening sessions to get input about the use of force policy was well attended, but this is also not true. There were only 13 members of the public who gave public input across all 3 sessions. And Community Engagement Coordinator Lamont Peppers even muted a resident for referring to Chief Serafin by name. So since there's this claim that there's broad public participation, I'm wondering if you guys, this board, had any say in the process of revising the policy. Did anyone from the city, did anyone from the Urbana Police Department ask any of you guys for input, suggestions, or thoughts? And if not, if they didn't ask, if you guys weren't approached to give input for this very important policing process, how do you feel about this? Do you feel concerned that Urbana Civilian Police Review Board was not asked for input while revising the use of force policy? Another question is, why weren't you guys asked? And hopefully you can comment on this. One other concern regarding the use of force policy is that there are actually 13 other sections in the Urbana Police Department policies that are very relevant to the use of force. And even though the public and City Council has brought up this issue, the city and police leadership are still talking about Section 300 as if it's the only use of force policy, which makes it a rather dishonest discussion. So I think this issue directly concerns you guys, directly concerns the CPRB, because if I recall correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, in the TASER case where CPRB voted that there was improper TASER usage, Deputy Chief Searles actually referred to the section about vehicle pursuits, which is a different section from the Section 300 use of force policy, and how that section needs to be updated. So this is a great example of how there are other chapters that are directly relevant to use of force policy and even relevant to the reviews that you guys do, but so far have been missing from all the discussion that has been happening. And finally, this also is directly related to this board. So looking at the use of force policy, weapon displays, including TASER reviews, shall be documented and reviewed. However, when I look at the use of force policy, it seems like there's a different section, which is the use of force investigation, that does not specify that weapon displays need to be investigated. So the policy seems fuzzy in that there's a distinction between a use of force review versus an investigation. And like just going through the policy, it is unclear to me how or when a use of force will be investigated versus reviewed. So I think this is something directly relevant to you guys because you are mandated to do taser reviews of taser discharges and displays. So I think this is something that you guys can look into. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for your contributions. I view this opportunity then, it's interesting that we end up being in front of the camera to discuss, and we're not allowed to discuss as a group, given the laws on open meetings, but there's item for discussion that I'm going to save several of these to when we come back to board input, but I think these are all highly, well, they're good questions, so come back to them as they fit. We're going to go to the unfinished business parts just to catch up with each other, and then hopefully that'll inform us both on new business and then some comments you guys might have. So the first one is where we are in complaints and appeals, and I think, Carla, you have those numbers. Would you mind catching us up on where we are?
We do have the number for complaints is up to 7
For the year?
for the year of 2021.
Yeah.
The appeals, I believe we have 10 completed. I'm not sure on the exact number of how many are left, but I can get you that information.
Okay. Can to clarify, and if somebody needs to cross-check on the log, but any appeals for 2021?
Not at this
We
time.
didn't at the last meeting, so
No.
we have 7 complaints thus far this year, but none have gone through the process and have been appealed.
No.
Okay, thank you. And your reference then to the number of appeals that we have pending, we have done 10 in, let's say, in the last year, but we still have a goodly number, 40-something to go.
Yes, I can get the exact number for you.
Yes, thank you.
I had a question, Ricardo.
Yeah.
Carla, do we know if the complaints have been fully investigated yet, or are they still pending, or do we have that information?
Once we've received the information, once we've received the complaints, we've logged them and we've placed them in the portal, and then they have gone to the Urbana Police Department for investigation.
Right, so, I mean, we don't know when they get sent the investigation's disposition, or what the chief,
We have not received any yet,
okay,
but you will get those as, you'll
Gotcha.
get updated on them.
Okay. great.
Thank you. Because they have 45 days to complete it, and so,
Right,
but we haven't
okay,
received anything yet.
okay.
Yeah, and we'll be, well, we've been making a big push, and Carla and Lamont has been working on making sure that the portal is populated through, both from the complaint, having the redacted copy, and then having the unredacted copy, and then I forget the other one, version that we have also built in.
That would be marked.
Yeah. So as they come up, we're free to either walk into the office and check them out, but we're also very free to look in the portal to see what's coming up. I recommend it because you start to get a feel for the language of it, and then start to get a feel for the calendar of when things come up. So anyway, thank you for the numbers then. We got B and C to do, and I think they're pretty short. Let's do B is gonna I think overlap with D, with your request, Tony. So I'm gonna skip for it for now. On C, the annual report update. Man, this thing is it's too bad that it's dragged on so long, but because we knew it needed to be documented. So very little headway this month, and partly it's me not being around, but Colin and I have met once, but we still are looking at it to basically to edit it at this point, so it can come back for publication. So let's just leave it on the agenda to come back to it, but because there's very little progress yet on it. The good thing is that once it's done, it's closed. We're doing pretty good on collecting information so that this year's report comes out just fine, with the same regularity that it should, just annual report. It's related to 5B, which is as we make more reports to council, we're building up the report too on anything, questions and the actual data.
If I
that
can
we might
ask,
have.
when are we expected to produce this year's report?
This year's report, it's an annual thing, so I think it's a fiscal year. I don't know if you're privy yet to that, but as I recall, it used to come out at the end of the summer, in the fall, because we're still on a June to July
Okay.
numbers. So you could say that we talk calendar year, but most of the time the reports would come out at the end of the summer. And because there weren't very many cases, it was a very easy thing to do.
Okay.
We went to council and we said, this is what happened this year, this is what we talked about, and then it would build up to integrating in other reports that the city does as far as this. So anyway, so that's coming up because we've kept those numbers, and the hardest thing has been just to collect the years in which nothing was done and kept up well. So, okay, that's A, C, B, a little bit with D. So go ahead and talk to us about D in the sense of where we are, Tony.
Sure. So the Taser case that was reviewed, this is U19-579. Originally, it was reviewed, I believe, in 2019. I think, absent Ricardo, everyone else on this board was not present when it was done. The original review was just of the Taser, the video that was recorded from the Taser device. Subsequently, there was squad video that was uncovered, or I'm not sure why it wasn't presented originally, but it was later found. It was presented to this board. I don't have the exact date of that, but it was presented to this board, and then there was review. There was going to be a vote, and then it was Carol Mitten cited unspecified Robert's rules would prevent us from reviewing it. However, I asked for some clarification on that. I hadn't received any. I reviewed my copy of Robert's rules and didn't see anything that would prevent us from basically reconsidering the case given, or in light of the new evidence. The squad video is much longer and captures more of the incident, and I think it'd be in the board's best interest and the community's best interest to view it again and make and recall and revote on the case.
Thank you. As far as dates, it was January of that year, and about 4 months later, during the session, it came up. The same thing that we've been remedying for that long is everything in the file and the folder?
Mhm.
And there was a question. No, it wasn't. There was something else. Can you please bring it? And then it was a back and forth. It got stalled. Eventually, brought it, but. I think the best discussion of this is that we never reviewed everything all at once.
Right.
And therefore, I think that your proposal to bring it all at once to view it is okay by me.
It's my understanding everything's in the portal. I looked at it the other day, and it looked like the squad video and the Taser video was there.
Yeah.
Which is the meat and potatoes of the case. So.
Yeah, and so now if we ask the question, is everything in the portal, the answer is yes,
Yes.
because those were the only items there.
Correct.
And so now we can schedule it for the next meeting.
Yes, I think we should. I mean, I don't know if we need to vote on that or just ask that it be added, but.
Well, when in doubt, let's make sure that we have on the record that we agreed, and then we're all responsible for that decision. Is that okay?
That's fine with me.
All right, put it as a motion, and then we'll take roll.
I'd move to add to an action item for next agenda, or for the next meeting, excuse me, on the next meeting's agenda, to reconsider the TASER review in case U19-579.
Thank you. Any discussion before we vote? Okay, go ahead and do a roll call vote.
Mr. Allegretti?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Diaz?
Yes,
Ms. Kendall?
Yes.
Motion carries.
thank you. So now, it's kind of funny, and you guys have to keep me in line. We were voting like that on everything because we were on Zoom. And I think it's the only time I've been chair is when we've been on Zoom. So I don't know whether we can just do voice votes to move faster, but you guys check me.
So I think that'll mean we would request, do we need to have a representative from UPD? I'd have to double check, I guess.
Yes, there would be. We hereby invite then the representative from the police department to present that case. Thank you, Carla, for following up and inviting, whether it's deputy chief or whoever else they assign to present it. That's good. It moves us then, unless there's anything else, any details that anybody wants to bring up on old business, we'll move on to new business. Okay? All right, let's go to 6A. Yes, Colum, he's our newest member of the board. He's our number 5 out of 7. Excellent. Go ahead, Colum.
So I wanted to talk about doing some outreach. Some of the goals in mind for this outreach, we'd like to fill some vacant seats, just, get in the public's eye, maybe increase some awareness of what the CPRB is, what the complaint process, how that works. Maybe if we can also establish a relationship with other CPRBs. I don't know if Champaign has one, but if we could get in contact, I think there's a lot of collaboration that could be done with other boards that are like ours. And the last but not least, the goal to sort of build trust and sort of a better relationship with the police and the community through this outreach, just to reach out. I thought we might reach out to such groups like churches, neighborhood associations. I'm a part of HUNA. That would be a great place to start, but I know there's more than that. There's prisons and correctional facilities. There's even city council, and even stepping upwards and sort of reaching out to them to talk about what we do. What I'd like to talk about, again, the complaint process. I'd like to sort of push forward our mission, what we're about. We could pass on statistics maybe in these meetings. I think this is also important for us this is a time for us to recognize any weaknesses that we have, any sort of structural weaknesses or something maybe that we haven't quite done right in the past. This is a great place to do that, is to bring that forward in meetings with the public, just to sort of bring it all forward. So I have questions too. I don't know who should be involved for these outreach meetings. I'd be happy to go, but I don't know if I think it would be best if we had a police representative with us. I don't think it would be good for us to just go ahead and do it, right? If our mission is to build a better relationship between the UPD and the community, I think they should be there. I think we could have any number of us on the board, our chair, Ricardo Diaz, Carla Boyd, our HREO. I'm open to suggestions, but this is kind of what I've been thinking about here. So questions I have for tonight, if anybody can answer. The first question, do we need permission to do this? The second question is, do we need funding? I don't think we do, but that's a question. And the third, what of course I already mentioned, is do we involve the police? And I think the answer to that for sure is yes. But so for those first two, do we need permission? Does anybody know if we need to? Can we just go out and just meet with people and announce it and invite who can be there? How do we go about doing that?
Well, as far as I know, Colum, we don't need permission. I mean, the cameras are here, hopefully to transmit to the community that we are willing. But we're also given that that, I don't know, call it mandate, Section 1939 of the ordinance that establishes us, give us the community outreach. We shall work with the police department, human relations officer, and human relations commission to anticipate problems, including analyzing data. We are empowered to periodically study and issue reports to corporate activities about relationships. And we shall develop a brochure explaining CPRB procedures and the right to complain. And then Know Your Rights. We shall develop and distribute complaint forms, I'm on E, and all materials distributed to the public shall contain certain language. And we hold periodic meetings with neighborhood groups, civic organizations, and our community leaders to discuss concerns relating to public safety and police procedures. So that empowers us to do it. So the answer is no more permission needed, I think.
Okay.
Right? Well, there's a second question that was also,
Yeah, the second question is if we needed funding in order to print out media or some such for what materials that we have to bring with us. I again don't know how that works, but
so
When was this printed?
this is outdated, but it was printed, and it is the one that is presently being distributed. It doesn't have a date on it. It's the one that gets put outside, and it was at the time when Grace was chair. So it's been at least 3 years since Grace was, but it is part of the effort. We were talking about earlier, there should be on file somewhere in the hard drive of the city, the brochure that we came up with many years ago, in which I explained the procedures of a complaint. If there isn't, it is very clear here that we should develop a brochure on C, and D, a Know Your Rights poster to be displayed prominently. Both, I remember when I barely joined, were in development, and I remember seeing the brochure. I don't remember seeing the poster. So, in a sense, everybody's new. We can just follow what it says. It's kind of funny. People that do the recipe and read the instructions are actually quite successful. The old cooks start messing with it, and then they change it too much. So, is that okay?
yeah.
As far as money, I would leave it up to you guys if, when we need money to print, that you guys follow the procedures, right? Carla is a yes?
Sorry about that. Yes, we can look at the budget in our
Okay.
office.
Colum, I know that you, as you came up with the idea, I was supportive, and I think that now we've established the email conversation for you guys to advance it as much as you guys can, and go forth and report. The thing that I like is in the suggestion was that we do a systematic outreach and a periodic reminder and everything else. The welcoming plan for the Champaign County was presented today, and we started to insert the language of immigrants should know how to file a complaint.
Okay.
That one will be printed and distributed. We're all invited on September 15th at the I Hotel, where the welcoming plan will be rolled out. And so as far as reaching the immigrant populations, that's a very good spot. If we wanted to, I could ask to get us there. The last question that you had there was police presence at these events. I'm open for discussion on what's the best way to do that, and to go to a meeting at a church in which we talk CPRB. Is it good to have the police there? I don't think we are here to review, and we're here to police review board. Bridging to the community, I think, is natural in that, but I want to hear your thoughts.
I think it's a wonderful idea, but I think at the initial meeting, in order to get people to be engaged, you don't need to have a policeman at the first one. Because if I do have a complaint, and then I come into the room and I see the policeman, is my complaint gonna be effective? Are you really hearing me? Is the policeman, gonna follow through? So I think that people will be more open if in the first meeting you explain what we're doing, what the purpose is, and then say, at a subsequent meeting, we will have the police here so they can hear you as well. But we just want to initially hear what you're saying at first.
Okay.
What do you think of that, Colin?
I think there's something to that. That having police at these meetings could make certain people uncomfortable who maybe already have certain feelings about police. But I certainly don't think we couldn't bar the police from coming. They're citizens just like the rest of us, and so these would be public meetings. So anybody who wanted to come could. But you're saying maybe we wouldn't have them sit with us to be like at the table for the discussion, or?
I'm saying the initial meeting, when you initially put this out there, hey, we want to meet with you, I think the very first meeting there should not be police present. And then maybe, like I said, a subsequent meeting after, like the second meeting, yes. But like you said, no, we can't bar them there. But right now, with the way things are going in our town, police presence sometimes will deter people from talking.
Right.
And we don't want that. We want to get as much help from the community to make us a better board. And I think that more people will be willing to talk if the police weren't present, just at the initial ongoing meeting.
Yeah.
Actually, that should be one of our topics, besides informing people of how complaints process works and how this board works. We should, we have 2 openings still on the board, and that ought to be like one of our items to always talk about.
Yeah, is to encourage people to apply.
Especially women.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. Actually, it occurs to me that the phrasing of your question is one way of asking, should the police be present? I think that's a very sensible observation. How about the other way? I'm sure the police get invited to go to places, and, you know, I don't know, do they have a public relations officer in the squad? Is there a single? I know that Champagne does, because I meet with him because of immigration matters once in a while. I've never necessarily met with anybody, but, well, yeah, but no, I don't know if there is an assignment called public relations officer in the Urbana force. But their job is usually to set up meetings in the community. And so I would say, why don't we tell them that we're available to be invited when they go? Because at that point, whoever organized it is inviting them, and I don't think it's a far-fetched idea to say, oh, and there is a police review board. Yeah, bring them too.
I would wonder what the bringing, I mean, yeah, outside of somebody who regularly appears in front of our board, you know, your patrolman or sergeant or someone, just having a police officer show up with us that may not be familiar with what we do may not be very useful to whoever's there. I mean, if we had someone like the deputy chief or the chief showing up, which, you know, that may be a little more useful. But again, you know, as a first initial meeting, I'm agreeing with Katrina that that's probably not the best use of our time, or to be productive.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's the other fact, though, that it is true that the police officers themselves don't know us, except in trainings. That is, the TASER training, there were, 5, 6 officers there for ours. When we've done the simulations, I've met other officers that are also either going through the simulation or are running it. As I was coming in, there was an officer there that was, you know, very friendly, and he called me by name, and darn it, I could not do the same. And I felt, you know, that embarrassed feeling that you get.
Sure.
I could recognize his last name, but I could not come up with his first name out of, you know, the initial that they wear. And so I thought to myself, it would be nice if, it would be a good courteous thing for me to have answered, "Hi, Joe," or whatever else. But in any case, so if you don't mind, as you guys work to consider when we can be invited, when after the first meeting, or be sensitive to the fact that police at our presentation may or may not be the best thing. And you guys come back with whatever you can scrounge. Carla, you want to tell us about Tracy's meeting, just because this started last month, basically? Report back on the invite we got.
Oh, well, we were invited to present about the CPRB board to the Community Coalition group, and it was canceled, so we didn't get an opportunity to present, but Mr. Diaz and I, we put together a PowerPoint to just explain kind of what my office does and then what the CPRB board does.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the volume. I don't know if you're back there, Jason, or who's out there, but the inside volume is kind of low.
I can't hear, what did you say?
Yeah, that the volume is too low, and
Oh.
so she can't hear what's happening in the
And
room.
I'm not on the screen, she
And
said.
she's not on the screen, yeah. So if you're back there, Jason, there, I think the volume just went up, so
Okay.
you are. Yeah, so Carla and I were invited to the Community Coalition. Tracy Days runs it, and it's a great place to put things out there. But unfortunately, yeah, it got canceled out. I think it runs on Wednesdays, once a month. But we're on their docket, so it would be great to take whatever we had prepared to present and enhancing it in every way that we can. I think that on that we can collaborate on the side pretty easily and get ourselves scheduled. Is anybody opposed to showing up at these, depending on availability?
No.
No?
Okay.
Can that PowerPoint be circulated? Just,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Carla, I think you have the final.
Do I have yours?
I don't know, but I'll make sure you have it and then you'll distribute
I
it.
can distribute it.
Yeah.
yes.
Guys, we're still learning on how the Open Meetings Act says, but basically, we should not have a dialogue outside this meeting with all of us there. And in fact, we cannot have a dialogue with more than half of the group out there. Since there's 5 of us, then 2 can dialogue, but the moment you have a third person, then it triggers a violation, and so we have to be careful with our emails and with stuff. But when staff sends us something to us all, as long as we don't reply all, we're fine with making observations to each other one-on-one. So in this case, if you'll distribute the PowerPoint, it'd be great. So, any more ideas, Colin, that you had there or that we didn't get to?
No, I think next for me is to start finding out more specifics to these public groups, because for me to say churches is rather vague. So next step is to get more narrowly focused on some of these groups we want to reach out to, and I'll need to be asking for help on that. But that's next for me, I think.
Have we ever shown up at a farmer's market or something? Is that, like, does the city have a standing booth or something that, like, if we wanted to set up, because I mean that hits a lot of people who may be involved in a lot of different groups, and
Yeah.
That is
it
true.
might be a good way to.
Is anybody a regular at the farmer's market?
I mean, I go every so often. I mean,
Yeah.
that last aisle is
Is the community?
the where,
Correct.
yeah. So
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know if I've specifically seen like the city of Urbana there. I mean, they kind of,
So the city has the main tent
right.
as you enter,
Right,
and
yeah,
I've
yeah.
seen several things be put out of there. I used to, since COVID I haven't, but we set up a table every week there for one reason or the other. The city has never been in that row, but I think it would be welcome since they're the ones that delve out the spaces.
Right.
They can charge themselves. But on the other hand, coming in from where they have their main table, their business table, we put up stuff there for the census a little bit. No, because we were already in COVID. Well, we put ourselves out there before, but only temporarily. I mean, like, not the whole 4 hours.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not asking someone to commit.
I'd be game mostly because I like going to the market. I have
Yeah.
more fun in the market than, you know, except for garage sales. That's my Saturday. So that's a place to do it. And it's, the way things are right now, there's plenty of space and spacing in between. And so there is. We should prep something and have materials to distribute because
Right, yeah.
people like to take stuff.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad place. We have, for immigration, our list of mailing list increased a lot there. Because, you know, on a good day, 3,000, 4,000 people
Yeah,
go
there's a lot
behind.
of people that show up.
Yeah, it's probably the most community space that we have in town.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Colin. Thank you very much for heading all that and moving forward.
I have one question, I'm sorry.
Go for it.
Is this brochure or leaflet in another language? Is it in Spanish?
It is not. I've never
Okay.
seen it in another language. The discussion and the mandate is that we have our materials in more than one language.
Okay.
And last year, well, actually now it's the year before, one of the members of the board was very interested and made sure that we promised that whatever we produce was in other languages. So yes, as we finalize something, we ought to put in other languages so it can be used. I'm interested in having the PowerPoint in different ways so that we can present to different audiences. PowerPoints tend to put certain people to sleep, and so to have something more clear at times would be fun to develop together, and I'm all game for that. So, are we good then on 6A, outreach? All right, let's do 6B. After we talk about 6D, so I'd like to, if you guys don't mind, take 6C, because that'll give us context for 6B and 6D, I think, because there's a lot that you have prepared, Carla? Yeah, so please.
Okay.
For anybody that doesn't know, our HREO, it's her 3-month anniversary in the city today.
Hey.
It's so nice to have, yeah, so thank you.
Thank you for that. During this time, Mr. Diaz and I, we began meeting weekly. We've met 2 times thus far. We are currently reviewing some complaint commendation software from a third party that Mr. Diaz has suggested, and so we're just looking at that information to see if it's something that we could use for the city. We are up to 7 complaints, which I had already shared with you on that. We did have 2 informal complaints, but one was, there was no response. It was shared through a third party, and they shared it with me, and so I reached out to that person, but there was no response from them. And then the other person, I reached out to them and I sent them the official complaint form and just waiting for them to return that. We are beginning the process of scheduling the hearings for appeals. That's going to be a lengthy process of making sure schedules and everything are coordinated, and so we're starting that because as we talked about earlier, the number of appeals we need to cover, we want to start tackling those. We will begin working on updating materials for the CPRB. One of the brochures, that was one of the items that we wanted to do. We also are looking at some of the documents that we use in our office so that we're able to be more efficient and make sure that everything is in a more process and everything's in alignment. We will work with Mr. Wilson to begin doing some of the community education sessions. That's been something that's been on my, on my mind to do. And then I did find out that, Mr. Wilson, you wanted to look at the Open Meetings Act training, and actually today we received an email, and I believe I sent that out to Mr. Diaz on the Open Meetings Act. There will be some webinars going on between now and November, and so you can sign up for those via the web, and I can share with you what they are. There will be an Opens Meeting Act, Better Understanding and Compliance webinars, FOIA for public bodies, and FOIA issues facing law enforcement. And those are open to anyone who would like to sign up. In the email, they tell you exactly when you need to sign up, the date you need to sign up by, and when they're offered. And for some of them, they have multiple dates that you can choose from.
Just to clarify, Carla, that's because they're offering these webinars because their website in which you take this training is,
Yes.
and has been down.
The website has been down, at least since I've been here, probably prior to my arrival, but I check it periodically to make sure if it's up or not, and it is not, and so they've shared that because the website has been down, they are offering these webinars.
Good. Are those open to the public, do you know? I mean, you signed up, you didn't have to register in any way?
You register by just sending out your name and which ones you'd like to attend. He talks, it's from the Illinois Attorney General. He doesn't mention exactly who, but it does say which public body you are from. So my guess is it's for governmental entities.
Okay.
And we got the email, or it was just,
She sent it to me this afternoon.
Oh, okay.
I knew that he was looking for that, so I forwarded directly to
Yeah.
him, but not yet to everybody because I had to think of put it in the blind CC, and I have roofers on top of my house, and I didn't get to it yet, so. One question, Ms. Boyd, on those informal complaints or those complaints, those two complaints that came up, are they going to be submitted? Are they in the portal? Are they numbered?
They are not in the portal. They're not submitted because they haven't submitted them yet.
They haven't
Those
submitted
were,
yet?
the
Okay,
first one was verbal, one was verbal and one was via the phone, and so I forwarded the complaint information to.
good, so they can file, that's good. Just a reminder, everything, including materials for sessions in which anything that we need for all sessions, continues to be in the portal. It's easy to miss because in the organization it doesn't necessarily flag them, so what I do is I usually go to the log and see if there's anything since my last time. And there are changes, there are updates that we should be logging on to. And I'm saying it that way because you should see this week just to make sure you're up to date before this meeting. Okay, thank you. Anything else?
No, that's all I have. Thank you.
Armand, anything else that comes from your end of the table?
No.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for the report then. It's good to have you here, but it's also a pleasure to be working and seeing where the gaps are, because we have had plenty. And I don't know, it feels like we're filling up the table with stuff, but we will eventually get through enough of it. So it feels good. I'm going to go on to 6D, which will be related to 6B. So, Mr. Allegretti, put it on the table.
Sure. So back in April, me and Scott Dossett appeared in front of the city council. We were discussing a change to the ordinance, specifically 19-22C, which is regarding the qualifications for membership for the board. One of those qualifications is you don't have a criminal felony conviction or plea. And this board had previously discussed removing that and petitioning it in front of the board. We did appear there, made the petition. The council, I keep using the wrong terminology. Council was receptive to it at the time. However, they didn't move on it because they were expecting additional changes, or they wanted a package of changes to be presented. I'm bringing this up now because, one, we think this is an easy change that can be done because it's just a removal of one section. It doesn't require a rewrite of any of the language. And two, it goes towards one of our major pressing issues right now is that we've got 2 vacancies on the board, and perhaps this is something that may be prohibiting someone from applying. Maybe they have some sort of old conviction that they're worried about, or maybe don't want to bring up. But anyway, we think this will hopefully round out the board. Me and Scott both discussed it with the board or with the council. I don't know if it needs to be discussed anymore here about why we think it should be removed. I think there was a lot of agreement on that prior. I think Colin, you were probably the only person that wasn't here, so we can discuss it. But I would, and I guess I'm not familiar enough with where this needs to go, but I guess we need to move it out of this board to have the council hear again the pitch, and let them know this is the only thing we're going forward with right now. We're reviewing the ordinance in full, and there'll be other changes, but we think this one is, or I think this one is pressing enough that we should ask them to take another look at it and vote on it as a sole item to change the ordinance currently. So I'd open it up to discussion if anyone has any more questions or as to why we think it should be removed.
We're still on the same
I
page,
think
Katrina?
Yes, we're still on the same page that it should be removed.
Okay.
Colin, did you have any? Any
Yeah,
questions?
I'm all on board, but the way I understood it, when the board was put into place so many years ago, there was argument about the section B, which, are you also trying to remove section B, which prohibits law enforcement officers from applying? Because that will be brought up, and because that was like a tit for tat thing, right?
Right.
I think the way it came out, as they said, is the community said, no police should be on this board because they, maybe they have biases. I wasn't there for the discussion, but they said no law enforcement. And then they said, okay, we'll agree to that if we say no felony. So those were kind of tied together. So it sounds like you're trying to remove just one, but not the other. But those were kind of like married, right? So
Yeah, I wasn't there when it was initially passed as well. I guess my position on that is it's a false dichotomy. I guess it's not.
yeah,
It's not cops and robbers. It's,
right.
It's and a blanket felony conviction bar really that can impact a lot of people, and it is very easier than it should be to be convicted of a felony or a plea even. I mean, this is the ordinance goes beyond just a conviction.
Yeah.
It could be something where you resolve a felony case in a way where it can be removed, but per the language of our ordinance, that you could be swept up in that for a minor drug infraction from 20 years ago, or from 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. So I don't see them as being married. I agree with what you're saying, that it may be brought up by the board, or the council, excuse me. But it is, I don't know if anyone on the council is still on there from when this ordinance was passed. I'm not sure.
None. Grace is the remaining one on this cycle, and then Diane, I don't think was yet on city council, so, yeah.
I mean, I think a lot has changed since then, so, I don't know how many people view it together, but again,
Well, for procedure's sake, we can't decide it. We
Right.
have discussed it. We send it to them, and if they call us for further discussion, we can put before them what we have learned, but it's their decision, right?
Right.
I find it for, not, both for context, but because I think this part is quite well written. 1922 of the ordinance that establishes us says, qualifications for membership. A, all members of the CPRB shall possess a reputation of fairness, integrity, and a sense of public service. Anyone not fit? No. We try to do that, right? B is the one that says, no city employee may be appointed to the board, nor shall any member be a current employee of, contracted by, or have any official affiliation, whether current or former, with a federal, state, or local law enforcement agency. A huge categorical exclusion. And then C, the one we've been talking about, says no person with a criminal felony conviction or plea shall be eligible to serve on the CPRB. Also very categorical. D, in making appointments, the mayor shall endeavor to reflect community diversity, including different neighborhoods, income levels, ethnicity, age, gender, and experience. And so we also are in that. It does say that the mayor is the one that, will endeavor that. So if we have our discussion before us, I think, and the reason I saved it from the agenda is that reporting to city council and putting our old proposal list to city council, I think we can wait till we have a whole bunch of it, or we can just be putting it out there as we conclude. And this is obviously an item that we agreed to a long time ago. So I think we don't, well, is it a new business or is it old business? Doesn't matter, but I think that the next step should be that we word a paragraph and that we get scheduled to go before council to present that paragraph. 1, 2, all of us, whatever that may be. Is that okay?
Yeah, I can draft the paragraph
Okay,
and circulate it.
thank you. And then that leaves it to me, but then I'll pass the buck over to you, Ms. Carla. If you can schedule us to present to city council what this disposition would be, and when it comes is up to you guys' discretion.
I will find out what the process is.
All right? Thank you.
Tony, would you be amenable to also striking B from the record, or do you feel that the police should be excluded as well?
So, I mean, the last discussions we had about it, I think it's just C. I don't think it should strike B. We're always going to hear what the police side of the issue is in every case. So, we'll have that regardless if someone's on the board. I think, we're a civilian police review board. If we have police on the civilian review board, even if it's former, I think it cuts against what we're supposed to be doing. So that's my opinion on the matter.
Sure.
Okay. Well, there will be different opinions at council. It is their decision.
Right.
Actually, this ties to a comment that before. We're more of a policy and execution board. We're not on the political side of these things. I think it also comes as to participating in city council. I often will listen to city council. I will sometimes come and sit in the back. Sometimes I'll even contribute on the public section. Very few times have I ever presented as a member of a board. That is, there are political stuff that comes before them, and frankly, most of the time it does not overlap with my interest enough that I would want to be putting myself as a partisan to any side. But when we go and make a report, we are wearing our CPRB hat in a vote that we took, and I think that is a policy recommendation given our experience, right? What they do with it on the political side, it's very much theirs. And for me, that has applied also to the use of force policy. It affects us because we will be either enforcing or reviewing what they do, and in fact, us having a good grasp of what the policy is, then we can make a judgment as to whether policy was followed or not. There are things in the policy that I disagree with personally, but my role is not, while sitting on this board, to change those, because I'm here to interpret my side. But if I did, I would go to council, and I do. And I must say, on the use of force policy, I have voiced my opinion through private channels, because I don't know I don't know where we would go for recommendations on many of those things that are in the use of force policy. For me, that is how I've approached it. If, you know, you guys, you were at the meeting on Monday, and I don't know your participation, but we can discuss it, but for me, that part is one of, in which I separate my personhood from my boardhood, life, so, anyway. Is that okay?
Mhm.
Okay, so we've managed to do 6B and D through this because hopefully, Ms. Boyd, as you ask what that procedure is, I would like to, go back to that idea that we report to them regularly so that they get to know us, they get to know that we're here, and that they also learn how to file a complaint when they need to, because they have a bigger audience than we do. All right. I just realized as I was going through this, it does not necessarily cover 5B because the proposal to city council participation also involved inviting them to come over or to assign somebody to come to our meetings and to dialogue with us. But just with the police officers, I think the more we have contact, the easier it is to have that channel open to say, hey, you want to find out about that? Come to our discussion on this or whatever. So anyway, so that would finish 5 and 6, unless somebody has questions or comments. All right, guys, thank you so much for participating and incorporating in your thinking and changes. Then we move on to 7. 7A is your opportunity to put whatever comments you want that we haven't yet put up above. 7B, as I recall, I don't recall 7B. I did commit with Tony that I have to circulate an agenda 1 week before so that Lamont isn't chasing us on Monday to make sure that we all agree with what notes were there. So expect that I will be more faithful in circulating an agenda the week before so that when it gets to him, he is confident that we've already floated also with Carla what else needs to come up so we don't miss anything. We have dropped things before and that's not good. And now it might be nice if we had a board secretary or a chair so that they would check me on the week before and prod me, but anyway, I'm hereby committing to that, so that's what fits. That was my say. Go ahead, your turn. Katrina, do you have anything else to add?
I do not.
Okay. Ms. Tony?
I don't think so. I mean, with the agenda thing, I was just waiting for a draft to be circulated, and I didn't see it, so apologies if I caused any issues, but with
It's
the-
always your fault, Tony,
I know,
so it's
I know.
okay.
I'm told that a lot, so.
All right. How about you, Colin? Anything else, comments on anything else, announcements of the other circles that you move in?
No, I'm happy to get behind what we've talked about today. I don't know what we can do with it with, like you mentioned 6D, like that's striking, 19-22C. Can we do anything with that? Like it wasn't on today's agenda, but, we sort of like added it to the agenda at the beginning of today. Can we just start moving forward with that, or do we need to then wait till next week, or next month? Or can we just kind of go and start
So we're gonna draft a paragraph. I can send it to everybody if anyone wants to edit or make additions or deletions. And then I think we can we're finding out the process from Carla and what we need to do. If we need to vote to move it out, we can do that next month.
Yeah,
Okay.
And if-
especially because this one was considered in more formal vote a long time ago.
Right,
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
if we do, we can wait until after the 22nd, but maybe they'll invite us before. I mean, not the 22nd, the next meeting, which is the 22nd of September. But if there's any other thing. There was already agreement as to,
Mhm.
okay. There's a lot of this is in defined column, and so for me, as long as we put it before the public with sufficient time, have it be fair for comment, then if we make a decision that rubs somebody the wrong way, that they have an opportunity to tell us so, or to voice support. But the mechanics of our relationship with council is spelled out in a few places in the ordinance, you know, as we circulated today. But there are sometimes that we report to them.
Yeah.
Decision on who's a board member and other decisions are the mayor's. But amongst ourselves, we have a charge to do, and we have pretty much an open book to reach that. So,
Okay.
okay. Actually, I do have one for you, Colum,
Yeah.
and that is your email, the email that you're using for official business. Would you care to spell it to put it out?
Yeah, I would like to, yeah, so I have an email that is open to the public for anybody to send, and that is, it's cullum.wilson.cprb @gmail.com. I can spell that once I write it down.
That should make its way to the board page.
Yeah, you know, and that would be, right, if we could get that to the board website, I think that would be good, but I don't know how that all works. So
Sure, we
that's,
can figure that out.
Colum, if you'll just send me an email with that address.
okay,
We are in the process of working on updating the website maintenance. However, the admin to the city is out, so it's
Oh.
gonna be a week or so. But if you can, whatever email address you want on the public website,
yeah,
if you just email that to me as we are switching over and updating old members with new members, I'll
Yeah.
make sure that it's posted correctly.
right, because Scott's also still on the website there. Okay, yeah,
Okay, so as we do those updates, I don't have it yet, so if you'll send each of us a mail so that we have it, and so we use it as the default mail for you.
okay,
Mine has been floating for such a long time that I think it's the one that just is the automatic one for me.
Okay.
But that way, when we send each other stuff, we know which mailbox to send it to. Sounds good. We have talked about the 2 openings that we have and making the effort to expand the base of people that get invited, that people that can apply. 5 out of 7 is not a bad situation. It's an odd number, and if we're in disagreement, it's a tiebreaker, because we have had ties at times. But on the other hand, 7 people will mean that we will need 4 people to have quorum too. So as you recruit people, have them commit to come to the meetings and check in so we can do decent votes when we have any. It's hard to get locked up because we don't have quorum, and it used to happen a long time ago. All right. I'm still trying to recall where 7B fit. General recap of the meeting. I think that was of Monday's meeting.
I had a request for the agenda that there be a slot added to recap or review what happened during the CPRB meeting tonight. That was sent to me.
Oh, yes. So what did we do today, and any decisions that need to go up? All right, so help me out. We approved the minutes, so we're caught up on minutes. We had a member of the public talk to us about 2-3 things that she was interested in. We had 10, what's that?
the outreach idea by Colin.
Yeah, the outreach idea by Colum, and collaborating for that, and him collaborating with Carla about that, and so we're all in agreement that we want to go out and do that. Some publications, as per Carla's report. Let me see.
Tony is going to formulate the paragraph for us to present.
That's
on
right.
Section 1922 to the city council.
Good. And Carla's finding out the procedure so we can be scheduled to present that to City Council. That's good. As far as numbers, we have had 7 new complaints this year. None are so far at the appeal level. We have the overdue appeals to still handle, and Carla is setting us up in September to look for a good date to come back to that list.
We're revisiting the Taser case.
We're redoing the Taser case at the next meeting, so inviting the appropriate staff to be there for it.
Will that be a closed meeting, the Taser?
No,
No,
Taser
it's-
meetings are
it's open.
open.
Okay.
We've always done them as open.
Okay.
They're redacted by the time whatever's shown on
Oh,
screen
okay.
is.
Thank you.
Yeah,
And that was U19-579, and I can find that in the portal.
That's on the portal. There's only 2 Taser cases up there, so it's pretty.
yeah. The ones that are open are.
Yeah,
are-
the ones that are open, so it should be pretty easy to find everything.
There's a lot, well, the portal has a lot of materials from old, and they're usually labeled in old folders or their previous years and whatever else. It had never occurred to me until recently when I was trying to find stuff that stuff wasn't digitized before that. That is, when the portal came, whatever was on paper stayed on paper. At some point, it gets shredded. I'm not sure what the records are. But when I started here, we did everything by paper. So we visited their office, we looked at whatever was coming up, and then if a case made it to appeal, then we got a thick stack of stuff. So now everything is in the portal, and I think that the once common question, but I think it's one to keep in mind, is everything in the portal? Once we have that assurance, then we move with that and get informed and raise the issues. So, okay. Is that a good summary? Did we need anything else? All right. Thank you very much, and thanks, Lamont, for bringing that up as we do. So I would say then that we're done from 1 through 7. Unless there's any objection, we'll go back to if there's any other public participation. Now would be the time. Okay. So we don't have any further participation, so can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'd move to adjourn.
A second?
And we'll do the roll call.
Ms. Kendall,
Yes.
Mr. Diaz,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Allegretti.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, so we're adjourned until the 22nd of September for a regular meeting, and expect an invite to get us together before that.